Good morning,
Good
campers.
morning, campers. Today's activities include, I don't know, some like monologuing. Here we are, Greek chorus. It's me, Lawrence Fishburne, Greek chorus, also chauffeur.
He is Adam's driver. Lunch today will be eaten on a chaise longue.
And tonight, we're going to end the movie by, I don't know, looking brightly into the future, I guess?
So put on your sunscreen, bug spray, and camp uniform as we dive into Megalopolis.
Megalopolis. Mariska Hargitay, Sarah.
Mariska Hargitay, Sam.
And Mariska Hargitay, Warren.
Mariska Hargitay, guys.
I am your camp counselor, Sam, pro bodybuilder in training, and current very confused wrestle boy.
I'm camp counselor Warren, editor, journalist, and dilettante, and control subject of this?
And I'm camp counselor Sarah. It entitles me? And we're here to ask, is it camp? We're diving into popular culture of all kinds to loosely identify what makes something camp.
We are not here to be the definitive experts on it, but rather just talk about this often overlooked and frankly queer subgenre. And today we're doing Overlooked because apparently this movie did not do well in cinemas.
No.
Megaflopolis. Now one of us has said it.
It writes itself.
Yeah. Not since Tom Hooper's Cats.
I really disliked Tom Hooper's Cats. I did not dislike this. I don't know if I liked it, but I didn't dislike it, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh, I completely agree. When I was trying to convince people to see this, I was saying, I'm not going to tell you it's good. I'll just open with that.
The best review I've seen so far is somebody random on Blue Sky who said, listen, Francis Ford Coppola brought you The Godfather. Let him make his little movies that suck. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much my take on this.
Yeah, I've seen Jack more than once.
I have not seen Jack.
Oh my god, he made Jack?
He made Jack. That's in the era when he was trying to call himself out of bankruptcy for like the 5th time.
No, wait a minute. Is this the one where Robin Williams is aging at a remarkable...
Yes.
Yeah,
then I have seen it. Okay.
He's basically a leap year baby.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, I actually have seen that. And, when I worked in Master Control way back when, so on a midnight shift, which is why I didn't remember seeing it, because I was probably half asleep at the time on the job.
Yeah, that explains why you did not pick up Jack at Blockbuster and go, interesting.
I did not.
That movie made me very upset as a child. Like, I just knew that it was an upsetting movie. I didn't understand everything that it was doing, but I remember at the end, like, he's graduating high school with all his friends, but look, he's an ancient fucking man. I was like, oh, he doesn't have long to live. What a sad fucking life. This is me. It's like an 8-year-old.
This is the same reason why you won't watch M. Night Shyamalan's Old. Children aging upsets you.
People aging fast upsets me. It just does. I would like to blame it squarely on the very salty episode of X-Files.
Now, the opposite of this is Bicentennial Man, which everybody hates. And I remember watching again at Movie Central back in the day and going, and like 3 a.m. going, he's dying. Why am I crying about the robot Robin Williams man right now? Nobody should see me. Avert your eyes.
Oh, the first movie I ever cried at was his version of Flubber, where he has a little robot friend that dies, and I was like, I'm ruined.
No, not Flubberbot. Yeah.
Who did the voice of the robot? I remember it was somebody and being like, holy shit, it was so-and-so? Let me look it up.
Something's always told me Julia Roberts. I'm putting my money down on Julia Roberts.
No.
I don't think that one I actually genuinely, I don't think I have seen.
It is, oh my god, there's so many more people ahead of this.
I think Flubber was sort of brushed aside by the nutty Professor Hegemon.
Oh, it's Jodie Benson.
Oh, there we go. That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. But my god, there are so many like character actors in this film. You got Marcia Gay Harden, Christopher Donald, Ted Levine, Clancy Brown, Will fucking Wheaton.
This is back in the day when Disney was still like churning out their live action thing. That machine will never die.
But it's a different machine now. Like now it's I wouldn't say it's higher class because I don't think those movies are all that great. But it's not the low rent. Like I guess the best way to put it is when Disney went from cartoons to crappy live action stuff you'd see on Wonderful World of Disney back in the day. That was kind of their 90s version of that, right? And then these new ones are prestige in quotes, I suppose.
Yeah, or it's like The Descendants 17.
Yeah.
It thinks it's higher class.
Yeah, exactly. Nouveau riche. That's what those are.
Nouveau riche Disney. Speaking of nouveau riche,
Yep.
So, Sam, you were not aware of the long, long backstory of Megalopolis.
no, I wasn't. I knew that this was like, oh, it's Francis Ford Coppola's latest and possibly last film. He's an old guy now, and this very much felt like a passion project that had been long percolating for whatever reason. But beyond that, I didn't know anything about it. The trailer for it was, I mean, nothing as fuck.
No, it's basically just the first scene.
It's just the first scene. And you go like, ooh, mystery. He can control time. Can he? Ooh, I don't know.
This will be important in the film.
It sure won't.
And you guys saw it and you couldn't stop talking about it. And I was like, all right, I guess I got to see it. So Sarah went and she smashed the In Case of Emergency film that we all saw roughly at the same time podcast box. And here we are.
Warren and
This does tick a lot of boxes.
Warren and I thought, wouldn't it be funny if we could peer pressure Sam into watching this movie in particular? Yeah. So, Sam, what if I told you this movie was based on a true story?
You can't see my face, my long and dejected face. You can't see the...
He's just a sad little borzoi. Warren, were you aware of this?
You mean the Roman,
the Roman
aspect
stuff,
of it?
yeah.
Not like maybe vaguely, but not to the extent that I'm sure you're going to explain.
I'm not going to go into huge deal. Just that this was a true story. Catiline and Cicero were all real people. Crassus was around at the same time. It's Crassus, by the way, is where we get the phrase "riches Croesus" from.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Reese's Pieces?
Yeah, riches Croesus, Reese's Pieces. It's how you get ET.
Is there anything Romans can't do?
Now, I suspect that WoW Platinum was not there in the original Roman tale.
Yeah, I would think not.
I did text you about I did text you about the fact that the show is called WoW Platinum and it's up in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. And I sat there being like, wow, how incredibly forward of Francis Ford Coppola to reimagine WoW as being like the center of news and financial broadcast in this alternate universe. The Gay Channel.
Prescient.
Next up, after Aubrey Plaza, RuPaul's Drag Race, Rome edition.
I mean, I'd watch it.
Oh, absolutely. I think that, if anything, this movie has revealed that Aubrey Plaza has a bright financial reporter career ahead of her.
Oh my God. Well, this is what made me laugh about that was how his view of the media was firmly stuck in the 90s. Not just her, because she's basically Maria Bartiromo at the time, not the right-wing shill that she is now. But also all the microphone flags for entertainment shows had TE, which means ET, which is, I think, long gone, or at least not a going concern of anybody's. Yeah. And there was and Crossfire, which was long since departed. So I think all that stuff, and in the podcast you're probably going to mention, they talk about how he had nobody to call him on any of this. So stuff like that, where it's like, last time I watched TV news was the 90s, here's the 90s stuff. Oh, but we don't do this. Shut up and do it. That's basically what I think happened.
Oh, absolutely.
So about this based on a true story, or loosely adapted from mayhaps a reality that once existed.
It's basically just a power struggle that happened around this time that Francis Ford Coppola read about in the 70s and was like, that would make a really cool movie. And also, it's Coppola in the 70s. He's like, obviously my culture and country is dying around me. It would be really cool to contrast the fall of Rome with the fall of America. That's how you end up with New Rome, obviously.
Just in time, too, for 2024.
But first, he had to make a little movie called One from the Heart. Have either of you guys seen this movie, or even heard of this movie?
I'd vaguely heard of it, but I'd never seen it.
I've heard, never seen.
So One from the Heart, Coppola was basically tired of dealing with the studios, and so he set up his own production company, which you guys have heard of, American Zoetrope. And he said basically what he was going to do was he He was going to institute the old studio system again, where he would have actors on contract, he would have set decorators on contract, he would have writers and directors and musicians on contract, and then they would just churn out their movies in-house, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah. The problem is Francis Ford Coppola is terrible with money and has been terrible with his money for like 80 years.
Yep. Except for the reason he was able to pay for this himself.
Yep. Because the one thing that he's good at is not film, apparently.
Well, he's good at film. He's just not good at managing
Yeah.
it.
The one thing he's good at financially is not film. So One from the Heart is an old style 40s musical, obviously shot on a soundstage. And it was a huge flop. You have to understand that this guy went, I forget the exact order, but it's the big four in the 70s. It's The Conversation, Godfather, Godfather 2, Apocalypse Now, and then One from the Heart.
Okay, so he is following up a string of like, wow, this guy can't do anything wrong, into, oh God, this guy did a wrong.
Yes.
Where does the Cotton Club fall into this? Because that was a giant bomb too, but I think that was not his own thing. It was like for hire.
Yeah, so Cotton Club is right after this, along with the S.E. Hinton movies, Rumblefish and The Outsiders. They were his movies where he started to be like, okay, I have to pay off my debts, so I'm going to become a studio guy again, and I'm going to do work for hire. That's how he does Cotton Club. That's how he does the S.E. Hinton movies.
Right. Okay.
He gradually starts to build up more cachet again, and he makes Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is very similar to Megalopolis, I think.
In some ways, that's way more coherent.
Yeah,
although
yeah.
it isn't all that
it's
coherent,
a much
actually.
better movie.
Much better movie.
And then because, again, he's a financial fuck-up again, he starts doing work for hire, which is why you get stuff like Jack and The Rainmaker in this era. Like...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's turning in, like, sturdy work that nobody would be ashamed of, but it's not Francis Ford Coppola work, right? It's around this time in the late 90s that Francis Ford Coppola says, I, Francis Ford Coppola, am getting old. I want to make Megalopolis. I am going to start putting all my work into it. So they actually start filming, which you guys may know. Sam, did I tell you about the thing from early 2000s that wound up in this movie?
No. Go on. Oh my God, was it the... Oh no.
Yeah, so when you're filming a movie about how a giant disaster affects New York and clears the way for your utopia, it's not great to be filming that at the same time a giant disaster hits New York. And people aren't feeling very utopian. Yeah,
no utopia resulted from that. I can assure you.
So there's footage of 9/11 in this film that was shot by this crew because they were just shooting around Manhattan.
Yeah. Oh.
After that, he naturally doesn't feel like making this movie. So it goes back on the shelf. He makes a couple other smaller movies and finally says, I want to make Megalopolis. When he describes this movie to people, they will not give him money to make it.
What are those small movies, by the way, while I was watching Megalopolis? I've seen it, Life After Life. And again, it's not good, but it's interesting. It goes through all these different genres of movie, and it's got Tim Roth living eternally and not knowing what to do with himself. But it's like a small scale version of this, where it's like, what's this about? Everything. Does it work? No.
So because he was unable to secure funding, he sold off the Francis Ford Coppola wine brand, which got him several hundred millions. And then he said he spent it basically all on Megalopolis. Megalopolis apparently cost $120 million to make, which is silly because this thing looks like real shit sometimes.
Yeah.
It does have that kid on the internet screwing around with Unreal Engine vibe to it.
What are you talking about? I took the Utopia meme and put it in the movie.
Yeah, I paid so much for Shia LaBeouf's eyebrows, guys. You don't understand.
Listen, I can't believe this sentence coming out of my mouth, but he's actually pretty damn good in this.
He's very good in this movie.
I'm not going to deny how, like, the actors are acting. Right, I'm fine with the acting and the choices of acting and stuff that is happening in this, But there's a cohesive whole that the film does not achieve.
Oh yeah.
No, it does not.
So finally he finally makes Megalopolis, and then he doesn't have a distributor. So he decides to go to Cannes, where apparently it is not the done thing to go to Cannes without a distributor. He's just being there like, I'm going to show it off at Cannes, people will love it, and then I'll get a distributor. People booed him at Cannes. People walked out.
Wow.
Keep in mind, this is Cannes, where people give like 15-minute standing ovations.
I still don't believe that. Until I'm never going to go to Cannes, but let's say I did. I would stick around just to see one of these legendary ovations because I don't believe they're actually
Right?
real.
I got things to do. Nobody's checking their phones during the 15-minute standing ovation.
Like, it just doesn't seem like anything human beings would do other than outside of some insane rally or something.
Maybe there's like some sci-fi tech in the auditoriums that's just causing people to be like, yes, must stand. Must
If you
clap.
sit, you get electrocuted. It's very simple.
Maybe there's only a single exit, and they're just counting people standing in line.
Must clap. Must stand.
So, anyway, this is the man's last film. It has bombed hugely. It doesn't seem like he's going to be allowed another swing at the bat. But who knows? I think the insistence that this film get made, despite the fact that he is literally throwing away over $100 million, is kind of like his artist's brain shouting that this has to be the last story of his life, which I think is kind of beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be better if the movie was better, though.
Yeah, would it though?
Yeah.
We wouldn't be talking about it probably.
I too would like to have seen a better film.
True.
So now we come to the plot.
Oh God.
Buckle up, everybody.
I thought to have fun, we'd play a little improv game, a little icebreaker. I know.
God.
I know.
All right.
I know. I was wondering if I could ask each of you guys to sum up the plot best as you can in one sentence.
Crazy shit happens. There you go.
Thank you, Warren, for putting up with the improv game. Sorry, Sam, go ahead.
You're welcome.
The audience gets tricked into watching a Shakespearean history for nearly 2.5 hours.
I guess I would go, art and family are the only point of living because they can stop time if you do it right, and everyone should respect Ayn Randian style self-proclaimed geniuses more and give them money to do their thing.
Yeah, I mean, watching this, I was like, is this Ayn Rand on shrooms? Is that what this is?
Yes, it's very The Fountainhead, right? It's about an architect who knows better than everyone around him.
Well, and having interviewed many architects in my time for my day job, I'm like, oh yeah, this tracks. They're all jerks.
You've heard it here first. Architects, jerks.
Well, to be fair, Canadian architects, or actually English Canadian architects. I've interviewed French ones; they're cool. American architects usually don't have a stick up their butt. Canadian ones do. I don't know why.
Really?
They can suck it.
It's very strange.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to lead us through the plot. Again, as I'm sure we have demonstrated to you campers, there isn't much of one, or there's way too much of one. Take your pick. We are going to go on vibes here. We're going to go off into little alleyways.
Yeah, I very explicitly texted my co-hosts last night and said, I have to opt out of doing the synopsis on this because I don't think I actually understood what happened in the film. Not to mention the fact that half of the cast has names beginning with the letter C. And so
That's true.
I sat there most of the film going, who are we talking about again? Wait, which one's who? Who's Caesar? Who's Cicero? Who's circumnavigating the globe? I don't know.
Okay, so we open with a stone tablet telling us what we're about to see, but fortunately for the illiterate among us, Larry Fishburne is also here to read us in his beautiful, beautiful voice.
I'm saying it now. Bring back stone tablets.
It's very like Bible epic in times from the 50s.
It's a movie that says return with a V.
It does!
It proclaims its importance right off the top, which can go one of two ways, and it certainly did go one of those two ways.
Yeah. And wouldn't you know it, it seems like the people claim to have strong morals in New Rome, but they actually live lives of decadence. This is definitely something that we needed spelled out for us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it is spelled out in big block kindergarten letters.
So we meet Caesar Catalina, who is Adam Driver, by stepping out of the top of the Chrysler building and stopping time. How he does this, we don't know. He just says, time, stop.
Will this be plot important, though? Like, this cool ability to stop time? Will he, like, get into cool action sequences or, like, stop a car in midair before it crashes into somebody and he saves their life?
I mean, it is important in the sense that somebody else has this ability and he notices that, and that sort of sets a lot of stuff into action. But other than that, no.
Okay, here's my central argument. It's a metaphor.
What?
No, the whole thing is a metaphor. Stopping time is a metaphor. That's why he can't do it when he's not in love with Julia. That's why his daughter can do it at the end. I wonder who might be Francis Ford Coppola's daughter and is shockingly good at the thing that he's also shockingly good at. That makes me cry when I think about it. But no, I think the whole point of the movie is that the ability to stop time is art and love. That's how you feel when you are making art, when you're in the zone, and when you're in love, that you've stopped time.
It'd also be really funny if at the end of the movie the baby stopped time, and because it's a baby, it doesn't understand the concept of restarting time, and everybody's stuck in a purgatory for the rest of eternity while this baby
it just starts crawling around.
Sam, you've turned this into your personal horror movie now.
Yeah. How cool would a horror movie be about, like, oh no, I accidentally got unstuck in time and I can't do anything about it?
I mean, somebody must have done that.
Right?
Maybe.
Hollywood, we're just leaving these ideas on the table for you. Come on.
So Caesar Catalina is an architect. He has won the Nobel Prize for inventing Megalon. Megalon is... Webster's Dictionary defines Megalon as...
Yeah, we did an episode on the Megalon.
Hey!
It's whatever's convenient at the time. That's what it is.
Yeah. Megalon is apparently building material, but also it's just magic. You can just sub in magic for Megalon.
It does something.
Yeah. It looks like some sort of like 5-dimensional glowy thing that he can also use crystals to see into the past with.
It looks like Doctor Who Regenergy. That's what I kept thinking. It looked like what spits out of Doctor Who whenever he or she regenerates.
It also kind of does that Rorschach thing of like, oh, look, it's symmetrical, but not symmetrical at the same time. So I kept wondering why Francis kept putting an image of my parents fighting throughout this whole film.
At the same time, we meet Julia, who is ostensibly our female lead, and poor Natalie Emmanuel.
Yeah.
She's been good in other stuff.
She's very pretty.
She's very beautiful in this.
She's a very nice lady to look at.
Well, like I think what's Going Rogue. That's the name of the podcast that you sent to us to listen to about it. They mentioned that in previous drafts, this character had a lot more going on, which is weird. You would think it would go the other way, where the character would improve as the drafts go on, but no, it actually degraded apparently as the drafts went on.
That is upsetting.
The cheese grater of time knows no bounds.
Yeah, so if you look up, I think, any clip of this, her delivery really stands out among the rest of the cast. It's so obvious that they must be doing something, but I do not understand it. There's definitely a choice being made there.
Mm-hmm. There's also a real vibe of something was left on the cutting room floor here many times in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Like a blow to the head that makes her talk like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of very clipped scenes, I feel, where it's just like an action stops and then all of a sudden we're in a new action and I have to go like, wait, what got us to this point? I just had to like retroactively try and fill gaps in, but the movie's not helping me fill the gaps in either. And so
the one that sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just I'm very confused by this film. I'm very confused.
The one that really stands out to me is where they've got that parade happening and those marching band guys who are apparently somehow related or whatever to higher ups. And they're talking about the one guy and he just takes off and nothing ever comes of it or is built up to it. And Dustin Hoffman in this.
Okay, so I found out, because for ages, every time I saw this movie, I thought these were two different people. But Shia LaBeouf's fascist crony is the tuba player. That's how he gets sucked into Shia LaBeouf's world.
Oh.
Okay. They don't really explain that all that
Yeah,
well.
I did not, because I didn't recognize, like, he gets a haircut between scenes or something like that.
And he gets hot.
And he gets, like, a Red Dwarf style stamp on his head.
Yeah, a big
Oh,
eye.
yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Not the letter I, like an eyeball.
So we see... You know how when the city is announcing a new building, it gets everybody up on scaffolding up above the stage?
That made no sense whatsoever.
So Giancarlo Esposito, who is doing fine work in this movie, he's fine.
Yeah, he's Giancarlo Esposito. You paid for him.
I mean, honestly, you kind of sympathize with his character more than you do Adam Driver's. Really,
Yeah, Adam Driver's just like being a dilettante architect doing drugs everywhere, and Giancarlo Esposito is like, I have a very important job.
He does.
I just couldn't tell. Was he a bad guy for most of the film?
I think he's supposed to be, but
is he?
I don't think he is. Yeah.
Like, so in wrestling, I'm gonna loop this over to wrestling because I understand wrestling. In wrestling, the first part of the match is probably the most important part because it's not even part of the match yet. It's called establishment. The whole purpose of this is when you walk out, you as one of the people in this match, you should be able to communicate very quickly and very effectively to the audience who is the face, who is the heel, and perhaps why are you fighting. But the most important thing is who is the face, who is the heel, because the audience just needs to know, who am I rooting for? Like where should my emotions be? Now, granted, like that then it becomes personal choice. Like if they want to root for the bad guy, that's fine, right? Hulk Hogan did nothing but heel moves and heel shit for his entire career, and everybody thought he was the good guy. He's the bad guy. I mean, outside of wrestling, he's also the bad guy. But inside,
I mean, that's America. That's America in a nutshell. We
Right.
think they're the good guy, but they're actually the bad guy.
But that's people making their choice after that point, because he clearly communicates, yes, I am kicking this guy in the nuts. That is a bad guy thing. And in this movie, I thought I understood who the good guys and bad guys were for most of the film. But everybody kept flip-flopping around in ways that made next to no sense to me. So Giancarlo Esposito, I was like, he is dressed in dark colors. He is setting himself in opposition to Adam Driver. I must dislike this man because he is a bad guy. This is the establishment. We're establishing who these characters are. And then to go through the rest of the film being like, wait, is he? Wait, no, who? No, they're also bad. Yeah, no. And then at the end of the movie being like, oh, that's the end of the movie. Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, Francis, step your shit up. Come on. It's your last movie.
Yeah.
Learn some wrestling. Come on, dude.
Well, also in, like, I don't know, his first 5 lines or something, it's strongly suggested that he framed Adam Driver for the death of Adam Driver's first wife.
Yes.
Which will, quote-unquote, pay off later. Don't worry about it.
Well, then like right in front of everybody, he whispers, "I know that your wife has made a megalon or whatever." And I'm like, "Is this going anywhere? I guess so, maybe, whatever." It just seems a little out of nowhere for the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, in the metaphor, it makes sense. He's making Megalon out of his pain, out of the pain that his dead wife went through. All that. Like, I can see the guilt inherent in that metaphor. The whole thing about you murdered your wife, but also you were maybe framed for it does not fit neatly in there.
I will say this. Megalopolis is a film that, while not easily understood, could very easily be adapted to stage, because boy howdy, is this some real Shakespearean asides to the audience.
Yeah.
Enter Dustin Hoffman, stage left.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman's like 19th build in this movie.
That's right. And gets cut around a lot for some reason.
Dies
I
off
know
screen.
Oh no, he dies on screen. They put one shot.
Barely, yeah. I've seen it referred to as a Family Guy cutaway, and it kind of is.
Poochie died on the way back to his home planet.
Exactly. Yeah, he does get poochied.
Apparently it's because they did a lot of rehearsal and improv, and Dustin Hoffman was not good at that, and that's why his role shrank, and why Shia LaBeouf and Aubrey Plaza's roles grew.
Okay.
Maybe they shouldn't have done a bunch of improv.
Improv is bad. I'm just putting it out there.
Jason Schwartzman is also here.
Yes.
This is when Adam Driver just delivers the soliloquy, the to be or not to be soliloquy. And the characters literally say, we'll just wait him out.
Now, is this positing a world in which Shakespeare doesn't exist and he's coming off of this, like, this is coming off the dome? Or does Shakespeare exist and everybody's sitting around going like, oh, all right, let him do his Shakespeare thing?
It's not clear, right?
Yeah, I assumed that Shakespeare existed, and that's why all this hootenanny was happening. But yeah, you're right. Maybe he doesn't.
Florida exists in this world, so I have to assume that
that Flo Rida exists.
A world without Flo Rida scarcely bears thinking about.
We didn't see Florida Man in Megalopolis, and that's the real loss.
This movie is a Florida Man when you get right down to it.
Oh sure, man! I can make a movie in my backyard. Don't know why you need to be so fancy about it.
Here's me being very nitpicky about it. But there's just so many other things I could criticize. But it's supposed to be New Rome, and then show some B-roll, and they show the stock exchange, and it's not NRSE, it's NYSE, and I was like Leonardoing the screen, going, "Wait, that's an error."
I fully support you doing that, Warren. Like, this is me standing behind you, my hand on your shoulder, going, yes, lean into that. Please, pick this thing apart.
Yeah, why that thing in particular, though? I mean, that's kind of ridiculous of me.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, fair enough.
Hey, I don't think there's a giant apartment in the Chrysler Building Tower, you know?
Well, that too, yeah. With the most opulent, non-eaten breakfast I've ever seen in my life. So I'm going, that's a hell of a breakfast. I want that breakfast. Why does he get a buffet all to himself?
Oh.
He's rich. He's decadent. It's fine.
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah. Adam Driver's having an affair with Aubrey Plaza. Nothing much is going to come of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it an affair?
I don't know. They're in a relationship.
Yeah,
and they're not really talking about it. It's clandestine, though, I think. I don't think they're advertising
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I don't think she would have married his uncle if she'd known.
Mm-hmm.
If, like, people had known.
What would people
Because,
say?
yeah, she marries John Voight, the richest man. He's crap.
What I love about Aubrey Plaza is she knows exactly what kind of movie she's in, and she goes with it. Like, most people in this movie don't seem to, but she certainly does.
No, she comes out of this thing smelling of roses. This is a great month to be Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah,
True.
Agatha all along and Megalopolis. Good for you, girl.
And My Old Ass. That's a movie.
Right.
I'm not just talking about my butt.
Anyway, yeah, he's having an affair with her, sort of. Like, so she is like a tabloid news journalist / stock exchange news journalist / sexy lady. I don't like the blonde on her. For some reason, blonde just makes her look old.
Well, it goes with the name, though. That's what I figured.
Yeah. But yeah, that's I don't know. She's like she's the wicked woman trope. She swans into this movie and she's like, I'm gonna manipulate all of these men. To what ends? Who knows? All I know is that manipulating is how I'm designed.
She's so great. There's a scene later on where she's manipulating Shia LaBeouf, and we just see her like as a shadow puppet on the screen. It's great. Julia comes to Adam Driver. Natalie Emmanuel comes to Adam Driver and says, I saw you stop time. I would like to be your apprentice. And he points out, pretty fairly, that he has won the Nobel Prize, and she has 1 year of medical school that she dropped out of.
Come on, give us the quote. I know you're itching to say it.
What entitles you to plumb the depths of my Emersonian mind?
I laughed out loud in the theater when I heard that.
God.
And then she says, entitles me about 7 times.
So I would like to say in my screening for this, I was legitimately surprised that the screening for this was like 3/4 sold out.
Yeah, same here, actually.
Like this was filled, but there were 3 solid rows of teenage boys seeing this.
Yeah, you
And
told us
weird.
beforehand, and you were worried that they were going to ruin it.
In any other film, if they did what they did, I would be so fucking irate. But I was sitting there, I was listening to their reactions. I was kind of, because you couldn't really see them, but I could hear them. I could feel their energy. And I was like, there was something in this movie that these kids are getting out of this that I am not, and I so envy their experience because they were laughing, they were cheering, they were like, generally anytime Adam Driver did something and the camera really focused on him, they would just start laughing their asses off, and I'm like, is this what I was during Cats? Because I could...
Were they high? I mean...
there, but for the grace of God, go I in Megalopolis.
I think part of this, too, is like, let's say they're 18 or 19, something, young. And
I can't
walk
tell.
into this...
They're young.
No, but I mean, what I'm saying is... I walk into this as a film enjoyer and who knows a lot about Francis Ford Coppola, and that's the reason I'm here. They're just going because it seems silly, right? So they're actually free of all the constraints that I have in my head about this.
Yeah. The ideal, the Buddhist non-attachment viewing style.
Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm very attached to this because I'm like, well, the whole reason I'm here is because I don't care if it's any good. It's the last time I'm going to see a Francis Ford Coppola movie in the theater. Just like I went to see Killers of the Flower Moon, which is substantially better, by the way. but
yeah.
I was like, what am I going to see another like Martin Scorsese 2? There may not be very many more Martin Scorsese films. I'm going to see this in the theater, whether or not it's good. I don't care.
Martin Scorsese's got that thing like Tom Cruise, though. Not quite as Daredevil, but Martin Scorsese, I think, would ideally like to die on a film set.
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, say what you will about Martin Scorsese, but the man knows how to craft a narrative. I don't think I've ever been confused. But no, wait, hold on. No, I was very confused by The Departed, but that's only because Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon look like the same person to me.
That's true. They may be. Did you ever see them in the same scene? I probably did.
I mean, maybe. I might have seen them in the same scene in that film. I don't know. But yeah, Martin Scorsese knows how to craft a narrative. And generally, for the most part, I think Martin Scorsese's film work overall is more highly regarded than Francis Ford Coppola's.
I think he's got a higher hit rate.
Yeah, it's like I think Francis Ford Coppola has really high highs and really low lows, and Scorsese has kind of like really good stuff, obviously, but it's more of a very good to great, I guess.
Like Shutter Island is not great, but it's not a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
No, like I would say at worst, things are like okay. Where you go like, yeah, okay, that was a movie.
The only one I've turned off halfway through is New York, New York, because that is pretty unwatchable direct. Other than some really great shots of giant ballrooms, it's not that good.
But yeah, this movie is, I want to experience what these kids were experiencing during this film. I like, and during this whole scene between Julia and Adam Driver's Caesar, they were loving it. They were living it up, and I'm just like, are there jokes I'm missing? Is this what's happening?
There's part where she like picks up a grape and throws it at him and says, "You must have been a very spoiled child." And I'm just like, where did this come from? It's like they flipped over an index card that says, "Have an argument now."
Maybe that's the improv. The whole movie is just like, okay, what's the next card gonna say? Whoop, no more time powers. Guess you lost those.
Yeah.
Act that out, Adam.
So here's something I didn't pick up on until my second watch. I thought they were romantically involved, like, immediately. But there's actually quite a bit of time where she's just shadowing him as his assistant until one day she finds him up in the eye bars in the sky. What are they hanging on? Don't worry about it. They're hanging from the suspension of disbelief. And he says that he can't stop time anymore, and she says that's very normal. It happens to a lot of guys. But she reaches out her hand and says, can you try to stop time for me? And he says, I don't want to. And then he does. And of course, he can stop time for her. And they kiss for the first time. It's very beautiful. This is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
Yeah, it's amazing how this movie can, in 2 seconds before that, you're rolling your eyes, and then you're like, oh, wow. And then you go back to rolling your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really beautiful the way they get closer and closer, and they're holding onto the beams less and less until they should be falling, but they're not because time stopped. And I think it's really beautiful.
There are they're beautiful shots. Francis Ford Coppola knows how to shoot a fucking movie. Right?
Yeah,
this movie is good to look at. Whether it's understandable, whole other problem. But, and, I do feel like these two do have chemistry together. So I understand why you could think like, their relationship starts right off the hop. Because I thought so too. I was like, yeah, okay, so they've been fucking for a while.
No, their relationship is not, the movie's not very interested in it, despite it supposedly being, like, the point and the reason for his life, Then we get to, I think, what is probably the most classically well done scene, which is the wedding reception / Coliseum scenes.
Oh, yeah. I've got other issues with this that I'm sure we'll get to.
So while Platinum and Crassus have gotten married and they're throwing this big wedding reception, which is, of course, classic gladiatorial games in Madison Square Garden. Sam, I noticed the wrestling here, and it made me very happy for you. It's classic, like, Roman wrestling.
Yeah, but it was fully like WWE, my style of wrestling. Like, it was... Yeah, it's classic in that, all the trappings are here. But it was very clear, like, oh, yeah, I can see the seams. I know exactly what's happening now. Mm-hmm. Great. Love this. Thank you, Francis. I tried to see who the wrestlers were, but they didn't dwell on them long enough for me to be like, I know that guy.
They're probably, like, local Atlanta wrestlers or something like that.
You'd be surprised. Let me look at the IMDb. You guys keep going. I'm going to see if I know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
There is chariot races for like 30 seconds. Not even. I think if you have chariot races, those demand to be the focal point of your movie. They would be the focal point of any other movie.
Yeah. I mean, the urge to outdo Ben-Hur, which I just remembered right now, had a remake, which nobody saw.
Right? I don't think anyone needed a remake of Ben-Hur,
God.
right?
No. And honestly, I remember watching it.
Morgan Freeman, right?
I think so. I just remember watching the original Ben-Hur going, I've never seen this movie. It's supposed to be really good. And it is great. And then he meets Jesus. And I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, I saw that as a kid being like, so what's with the sandal dude? We aren't showing his face? Okay, I'm bored.
Like, I guess it's, if at the time it came out too, America was probably a much more Christian nation. And so that really resonated with a lot of people. Fair enough. But for me, I was just like, this movie just seems to have taken a Magnolia, the Frogs Are Falling turn left that I don't understand.
It's like early Marvel where they're like, and a hammer has fallen in the desert. And you're like, oh, I know who that is.
I know what that means. I'm smart because I read comic books. And I'm completely self-owning myself here, by the way. I'm not making fun of these people. Well, I am, but I'm making fun of me too.
Meanwhile, Caesar Catalina is getting ridiculously high and stumbling around both in like the back alleys of the arena and also like New York as a whole.
I kind of loved these scenes. I was watching this going, this is kind of stupid. And then I was like, you know what? This is kind of stupid. I like it.
Yeah, I think it looks incredible. There's a scene where like a dude from a 30s movie just beats him up by sucker punching him a bunch. And Adam Driver's like, I can take it.
He's like in Dick Tracy all of a sudden. It's great.
Yeah. There's a scene where he's just like in his Y-fronts and he's stumbling down a staircase bloody while opera is playing, and my mom turned at me in the movie theater with her eyes shooting daggers into me going, you wanted me to see this.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Also, the part where he's reversing and forward and backing time because he's drunk off his ass with bottles and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? That's exactly what I would do if I had this power. I just diddle around with objects around me for the hell of it.
There's a TikTok trend where people like roll bottles, glass bottles like full of liquid downstairs to see when the bottles will break, and it's very, very satisfying. Mm-hmm. just being able to like feel like you're smashing bottles over and over. While we go back to the games and we meet Vesta Sweetwater, who is our
I love this name.
our Vestal Virgin, who is like a real pop star. I looked her up. She's been like a pop star since she was 12 or something like that.
Okay.
And she sings this beautiful song, and she multiplies into different people, and she's accompanying herself on a ukulele. It's all about like her chastity and how she promises to keep chaste until marriage. And then the ringleader of the circus comes out and starts taking bids on her chastity, which I'm like, I'm not sure if they are paying this girl to stay chaste until marriage or if they are selling her off to the highest bidder. Either way, it's really, really creepy. It's why I think it's the best scene of the movie, because you have this like chaste virginal performance while you just see old men bidding on her, and ugh.
To the tune of $100 million, where I was like, okay, I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but old men be gross. It's fine.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Shia LaBeouf, who I don't think we've talked enough about this, he is what I would call a Nazi propaganda homosexual in this.
Well, bisexual, given later events.
Yeah, he's
my God.
Depraved bisexual. Nazi.
Sexual opportunist, I think, would probably be the best way to put it.
Oh, and he's a cross-dresser, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I knew there was cross-dressing, but I couldn't really tell it was him at first.
Mm-hmm.
His cross-dressing, like, first off, looks fantastic. He looks so comfortable in it. Like, no joke. He looks great. Second, eyebrows. What?
It's the Mona
Whose
Lisa,
choice were
very
these
hot.
eyebrows? It's not. It is neither. Did he have an unfortunate eyebrow accident before the filming began, and Francis was just like, well, gotta keep these shitty things in?
He was doing like lab experiments and burned them off.
Yeah, he was working in the lab late one night.
When I think of Shia LaBeouf, I think of deep scientific work, yes.
This guy is great in this. Like I said, this is like Nazi propaganda, depraved bisexual, and he gives this character, like, he's one of the most exciting people to watch on screen, I think.
Because he's doing stuff as opposed to philosophizing. Well, actually, he does a bit of that too, I suppose. But
yeah, the parallels to various media figures that we are all well aware of is very clear. He is an abhorrent
Obvious,
little
yeah.
shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I was never like. It's nice to have a very clear villain on screen, except for the very brief period where he stops being a very clear villain, and you go like, wait, what? Is he good now? Did he learn the errors? And then by the end of the movie, you go, oh, thank fuck, he didn't.
He certainly did not.
Right.
Yeah, because shortly after this scene, he is going to descend into an alt-right fascist con artist.
Mm-hmm.
And stop cross-dressing and stuff like that and go mask. And he's great all of the time.
Well, and the thing is, watching it, and they get really obvious later where they throw red hats and stuff like that. And it's like, it's clear who this is supposed to be. And I'm like, I would have found this unbelievable just 8 years ago, but here we are. This is the most believable part of this movie, actually.
Here we are.
There is a sign that says "Make Rome Great Again" in one of his scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's pretty on the nose.
Yep.
But then this entire decade has been on the nose, so whatever.
Quality of writing has just crashed.
Well, I guess it's just because, like, what's the point in being subtle anymore?
Yeah. Why bother? Oliver Stone, prophet, we never knew it.
So I guess I've never said that Pulcher, who is Shia LaBeouf, is also one of Crassus's nephews. Though he's sometimes called Crassus' grandfather. I don't know.
It's wrong. It's fine.
By the way, Crassus, for the richest guy in the world, comes off as, well, I was going to say, again, this is not all that far from the truth. For the richest guy in the world, he comes off as pretty stupid. Oh, wait a minute. Is there a real world parallel to that?
Also, not wearing a great rug.
No, yeah. I mean, I guess that would also apply to Elon Musk, wouldn't it? That's who I was kind of alluding to. But
it took me a while in this film to figure out that it's not that people were being styled poorly; it's that people were being styled very deliberately with their hair. And I was like,
a bunch of men
they're
have
all
Caesar
just
cuts.
like Caesars. Yeah, they're all Caesar cuts, and you're just like, oh, that's unfortunate.
A Caesar cut is hard to pull off. Like, I don't think George Clooney could carry a Caesar cut.
he did in some movie. I can't remember which one.
Oh yeah, in the mid '90s he had one.
Right. Yeah. In ER, I think he
Maybe
had one.
what's the one? The first Soderbergh one he did.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Great movie, by the way.
Oh, he has one in From Dusk Till Dawn too.
That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. He looked really good in that one. Okay, all right, yeah. We'll excuse George Clooney with a Caesar cut. It's like how we can excuse Kiefer Sutherland with mullet in Lost Boys, because you're like, you know what, you're doing it. You're pulling this off. This is what a mullet's designed for.
And that ain't easy. So
because Shia LaBeouf wants to basically kick Adam Driver out of the family money, he puts up a deep-faked video that shows Adam Driver having sex with the Vestal Virgin, who's supposed to be like 16, 18, something like that. And the police immediately come and arrest Adam Driver, which is how you know this is not real life.
So when that happened, my friend Ron, who went to see it with me, he turns to me because they're giving like the little USB thing to the master control guy, and he goes, "Yeah, master control guy getting screwed by the guys in charge once again." And he's, "Yep, this is exactly what happens when you're master control. Some idiot comes in and tells you stuff, and you have to listen to him."
But also because Rome doesn't have a Vestal Virgin anymore, society falls.
Yeah, that's how it works. We need one virgin that we can concentrate all of our virgin power into. Like a big virgin battery.
Now, naturally what happens at this point is that Natalie Emmanuel and her friend Chloe Feynman from SNL go into the archives and find out that, of course, this girl is much older than she said she was. So it means that Adam Driver is not a rapist. Thank you very much. And you see all men who get arrested for rape. It's just a little misunderstanding.
Like, it's just solved immediately.
We could have had all of this without the rape plot, honestly.
Yes, absolutely. And also, I think in that Going Rogue podcast, they talk about how originally she was also a detective or something. She had some sort of background that made this make sense. And then that's just gone. She just kind of, all of a sudden, she's got like the Usborne Detective Handbook. Yes, I'm deliberately trying to do it. Sarah, she's got all those skills. And she's like, oh, I found this out.
I do like the little thing that when they go into the stacks to find out information, it's just scrolls and scrolls and scrolls. Nobody's invented books yet.
That is kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, this is a fun little detail of an alternate Earth. And who's the architect who's working underneath Adam Driver? Because I was like, it's James Remar. Because it was later in the film, I was like, holy shit, that's James Remar.
I had to look that up. Yeah.
It's like, he looks less sexy now. Age comes for us all.
There's a part in this movie where Adam Driver's looking at architectural plans and says, what if what holds the power is also the source for it? And the person's like, excellent idea, sir. I think being an architect seems pretty easy, according to this. What if we just made a magic battery? Intriguing.
Well, and the thing is, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just laughing.
Oh, I've been to a lot of architecture conferences, and they whine incessantly about how they have as many skills, and they're right, as doctors and lawyers. Why aren't they recognized as such? So this movie just goes, to hell with it. Architecture is easy.
How hard could architecting be?
Meanwhile, up in the sky above Earth.
For some reason.
This plot.
There's a Soviet satellite that's about to crash to Labrador, which, as Warren pointed out, is not uninhabited like this movie says.
Like, the entire theater was like, wait a minute. Because we're all in Canada. We're like, I don't know if you know anything about Canada, but Labrador has people in it. What are you talking about?
But this is alternate Earth.
Oh, I see.
This is an alternate Earth where it is New Rome, but there was still a Soviet country, I guess.
Canada doesn't exist. That's what's happened. Canada is just empty land that nobody wants to be near.
It's a barren wasteland. No, it's not a barren wasteland. Maybe it's just filled with indigenous people because they kicked us out of it. Right.
I mean, actually, that sounds cool. I like this version of Megalopolis now.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with this.
Oh god, I realized I skipped over the part where he traveled back in time to get a flower for his dead wife who isn't really there, and then he braids her hair. Don't worry about it. This doesn't make any sense based on what we find out about the dead wife later in the movie.
But the visuals are kind of cool. I gotta give it that.
Visuals are incredible. There's a shot. We see what we think is his dead wife, and everybody's like, they never found her body. And she's lying in a coma on top of a bed in this beautiful room with handmaidens and a person playing the harp. And the whole thing is just like glowing by candlelight. It looks incredible. So anyway, at this point, a Soviet satellite crashes to Manhattan and wipes out a large chunk of it.
But it kind of looks like it just hit a city block, like from what this movie's showing us.
There's some 9/11 imagery here. It's upsetting. I think.
It's very upsetting. It's like, Francis, slow your roll. But I think the idea is that the satellite hit that block and killed a bunch of people there. But if I'm correct, at some point in the film they were saying that like there is potentially like radiation coming from it, and that mayhaps a bunch of radiation spilled out and killed more people.
This seems like what's his name, Ozymandias' plan to bring the world together in Watchmen.
Yeah, it does. Totally does.
A giant squid
with a giant squid,
which is way cooler than a satellite, frankly.
Yeah, but it's the exact same thing because at the end, Adam Driver's like, ruined city block, huh? Sure would be a shame if somebody were to build a utopia here.
Totally.
What happens next? Oh yeah, there's some really cool imagery too around this. Like, you never actually see the satellite, you just see people's shadows on the building. I think it's great.
That actually, it looks really cool. I have to admit. There's bits and pieces that poke out of this. You're like, oh, this is art with a capital of A.
Yeah, it's very much the it's hey, are you a classics major? Do you really enjoy the works of Ovid and Homer? You know, the Iliad, does that make your heart beat when, you know, people are like, we are the Greek chorus and we're here to describe things. Look at our masks. Then you might like Megalopolis, because boy howdy, all these shadows on the walls made me think of that episode of Voyager where they landed in space Greece.
I'm just imagining what you just said as like a late night ad.
And if you call now for the low price of $2.99,
exactly. You get the Time Life encyclopedias.
Yeah, you too could watch Megalopolis.
Unfortunately, building Megalopolis is expensive, and the people are hungry and sad. We know this because a statue of justice lies down in the slums.
There's some other cool and really obvious and dumb visuals of all those statues doing weird CG stuff, and I'm like, this is stupid, but it's also kind of cool.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where you're like, I don't think he got a very good studio for this part, because all of these characters kind of look like the army men from Toy Story.
I'm getting real 3DS Max vibes off these guys, like a sub 2000s graphics package that he got somebody's kid to do. And yet the idea is kind of neat in a way.
Oh yeah,
the whole movie feels like the idea is very good. It just wasn't executed great.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf seizes more and more power because Adam Driver is becoming less popular, again, because Megalopolis is taking so much money. Julia is pregnant and tries to bring her father around to seeing the wonder of this Megalon house that they live in, which is, they're living in a flower. They're Thumbelina-ing it.
They're yes, Georgia O'Keeffe everywhere.
Georgia O'Keeffe. It can get bigger to allow for more people.
Ooh.
But Giancarlo Esposito says, no, I don't like Megalon. Not on a train, not in a box, not with a fox. And he is not won over by the greatest invention possible.
Not if that fox were Courtney Cox.
Adam Driver has a secret weapon at his disposal, because there's one amazing thing that Megalon can do that Giancarlo Esposito's never seen before. That's right. A moving sidewalk.
It's pretty underwhelming. And all this, well, just to skip to the end when they show the wonders of this utopia, it all looks like, and I was a real devotee of this as a kid, reading the 1970s and 80s, this is what the future looks like. It's basically that, right?
Yeah.
So Adam Driver has become an Imagineer and now works for Disney, is what you're telling me.
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, Imagineering requires a lot more practical work. Like, I don't think he's had anyone look at these blueprints.
Well, he's too much of a genius for that to happen.
Frank Lloyd Wright houses were very notorious for being, like, literally bad houses. Like, they're not watertight.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that's what happens when you leave art outside. So it's around this time, because Julia is pregnant, that Cicero says, I would like you to leave my daughter, and I will give you blackmail material on me to do it. You see, I know that you didn't kill your pregnant wife. Her body's lying in a morgue somewhere as a Jane Doe. Sometimes her body looks pregnant when they cut away to her. Sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Also, I really like the acting in this, even though it's kind of a stupid scene that doesn't make any sense and really puts the brakes on a bunch of stuff. I still think Giancarlo's delivering the goods somehow.
Oh, he's doing great. I also really love the actress playing his wife, who was in Poor Things. She was like the madam in Poor Things.
Right. And she's great in that, too.
Oh, fantastic.
I very much like that it's kind of cast against type for his wife, too. Like, she's a shorter woman with a very gruff voice. And, like, she's not classically beautiful in any way. And I feel like if this had been made by a different director, like, it would have been, if not a younger woman, like a stunningly beautiful Shore Egdashilu type, right? Where you're just like, yes, absolutely. And instead it's just like, oh, this feels like you two got married because you love each other. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing
That's
in
a nice
this
thing
movie
to
is
see.
realistic, except this. Yeah.
If only.
So I guess Adam Driver and Natalie Emmanuel break up off screen, which seems like something you would want to keep in your movie, honestly.
Yeah, please.
We're just in a lot of plot at this point, honestly. While Platinum freezes Caesar's account, she tries to manipulate Shia LaBeouf at this point. Crassus has a stroke and collapses, but the most important thing that happens at this point in the movie is that number one, Francis Ford Coppola quotes The Godfather. And number two, we see this side of Adam Driver's character where he's really good with kids for 30 seconds of the movie.
Yep. And he is really good with kids. That little bit of the movie. He's a little humanized and not an architect weirdo.
Yeah, this little boy comes up to him and asks for his autograph on his architecture book. And Adam Driver just suddenly goes into, like, kid patter and is the warmest human being in the entire city. And then the kid fucking
like,
shoots him in the face. It's great.
Yeah. I was so taken aback. Like, I could see it coming from a mile away, but at the same time, the kind of suddenness with which this kid shoots Adam Driver in the fucking face, you go like, oh shit, oh fuck. Like, I knew it was coming. I was watching it happen. I was like, this kid's gonna kill this guy. That is exactly what he's gonna do. And it happened, and I was still shocked. So good for you, Francis. You did it. You got me, even though I knew that you were gonna get me. I enjoyed that.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I say he's quoting The Godfather, because there's a very similar scene where people are killed in a car in that. And I was like, this is a lot like that scene from The Godfather with the building tension and whatnot.
Yeah, but that didn't
anyway,
include
our hero,
a
Adam
delightful line
Driver's...
about, I used to be 12.
Yeah. Sam. Sam's a good name. And I'm like, who is this, like, Tom Hanks in Sleepless in Seattle warm guy with kids?
Can we have this again in a different film?
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see, like, Adam Driver in, like a Sleepless in Seattle where he's, like, a single dad or something like that.
That'd be great.
They use Megalon to repair his skull. Don't worry about it.
It's again, so much of this movie is cool but stupid, and this is cool but stupid.
Yeah, it somehow gives Aubrey Plaza, like, a religious experience.
Yes. He takes off his bandage. She sees the Megalon hole in his skull. Sitars play as he turns into, like, 9 versions of Adam Driver, and she falls to her knees in glory.
Does it matter? No.
Yeah. Is it kind of racist? Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I'll do anything for you, anything. And it's like, wait, is she now like dickmatized by the megalon in his skull or something?
Dickmatized.
Like, will this be like a turning point for her character? Will she now be on the side of good? No, absolutely the fuck not.
Nope.
There's a scene very early on in the movie where Adam Driver takes off a coat and you see that he's wearing like a shirt and suspenders underneath. And I felt like John Oliver just being like, that man's square. Give me the square, man. Oh, there's also a scene where Adam Driver steps on Aubrey Plaza, and I was like, this is definitely a John Oliver reference, I feel like.
What the hell? Can I just throw in two completely abstract bits that I don't want to forget that I love about this movie? One, that the design authority walks around in FBI jackets. like they're somehow going to arrest you for bad architecture or something. And what was the second one? I've forgotten it now. Oh, well.
It'll come back to you.
If you listen to our episode from last week where I tell Sarah off for liking big cube houses, quite frankly, I want the design authority to come over and arrest her for it.
Oh God, what happens at this point?
Oh,
yeah, there's a January 6th.
Yeah. Well, of course there is. Not since the morning show have we seen such a clumsy January 6th.
Oh God. I have not watched the morning show, but watching you and our friends talk about it kind of makes me want to, even though I know...
I think it's right up your alley.
It's like somebody holding something out from the fridge and saying, smell this, it smells terrible. You know?
but an incredible chef made it. Like, there's so many great ingredients in the morning show that do not work. And so I think the way I've described it is a demolition derby starring Rolls Royces. Like, that's what it is, basically. It's really stupid, but it's got amazing looking cars smashing into each other.
Shia LaBeouf's supporters storm City Hall. Julia and her parents go down into the secret escape subway beneath City Hall,
which is cool.
Very cool.
I could believe
the
that.
idea of a private subway. That's like some cool steampunk shit.
Oh, by the way, if you're ever in New York, go to the Brooklyn Transportation Museum because they have an entire disused station with different. Like they've got an actual bunch of trains in there, and each decade is represented by ads inside the trains and the design of the trains. It's totally worth seeing if you're in New York. Yeah, it's like $30 or something to get in, and it's a great museum. It's so good. Yeah, I highly recommend that. Oh, and I remembered my second thing, where the Vestal Virgin lady, whose name escapes me, she decides to become Lita Ford for some reason. So like a really out of date metal chick. I don't know why. Like
because
just
Francis
for one
Ford
shot
Coppola
though.
Said, like, we need you to know that this pop star was not ruined by this scandal. She goes on to have a healthy career.
As like the rock tramp or whatever. Like,
yeah. Exit left, stage left, pursued by Joan Jett.
Yeah. Well, she should be so lucky as to be pursued by Joan Jett.
The crowd turns on Shia LaBeouf and hangs him and his tuba flunky upside down. Just in case you hadn't caught the metaphor, what if there's somebody who's just like, wait a minute, that's what they did to Mussolini.
What?
I think he's trying to tell us something. Also the tuba player is Balthazar Getty of the Gettys.
Oh, right, yeah. I keep forgetting he's related to the Gettys.
That's Balthazar. That's not Balthazar Getty. Is it? What?
Yeah. He's not the one who got kidnapped. He's the one who got kidnapped's son.
Oh, you mean... No, he's not actually Balthazar Getty, the actor.
No, he is Balthazar Getty.
Oh, no. What?
That's what the internet is telling me.
How does he look so fucking young in this movie?
I do not know.
Balthazar Getty must be in his, 50s or 60s by now.
I would not... Either skincare, or I could see Francis Ford Coppola going, this guy you're barely going to see, let's do a lot of de-aging on that guy.
Yeah.
What?
I also like that he's like, we have every single Coppola and Schwartzman in this. We got to get somebody else from a big family in.
This is blowing my mind, man.
Anyway, John Voight kills Aubrey Plaza and injures Shia LaBeouf with arrows to the butt. This is obviously before he gets hanged.
With great line, which is a terrible line.
How do you like my boner?
See, I saw that quoted out of context, and I'm like, was it just out of nowhere? And then when he whips out the crossbow and shoots her, I'm like, oh no, that line is justified, even though it's terrible.
Yes. Also, they have Dustin Hoffman say earlier in the movie, Crassus has got a huge dong, so we're not surprised by the crossbow.
I mean, it just made me think of like people talking about Milton Berle, just bringing it up in casual conversation. By the way, Milton Berle's dog is enormous. Like, I didn't need to know that. Why are you telling me this?
Milton Berle is in the Saturday Night movie, and you see his massive dong, apparently.
Hold on, what?
Yes.
In the new movie that's coming out. Okay, yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, this is not archival Milton Berle dong.
I've heard that movie's
the name
good,
of
by
my
the way.
third album.
We're learning so much.
The climax of the movie. We're almost there, guys. So Adam Driver comes out on like his stadium roof in Megalopolis, and there's a giant cloud with his face projected on. Yeah. And he talks to the January 6th crowd, and he says, "No, what we must do is create art. That is the purpose of life. That is why we are all here. You must believe in my future." And the crowd's like, okay.
One of my favorite things about bad movies is when somebody does something that clearly everybody making the movie thought was genius and brilliant, and all the audience acts like it is, and you're like, no, that's why are you reacting like that? This is a bad speech. What are you talking about? It's
like when there's bands in movies and you can never tell what level the movie wants you to think that they're at. So we have the final scene, which for some reason is like a ribbon cutting ceremony in Times Square to open Megalopolis. One last thing I saw somebody say about this was Adam Driver promises in this that in Megalopolis everyone is 5 minutes from a park, 5 minutes from a hospital, 5 minutes from a theater.
Oh no.
And I know. And I saw someone on Twitter say 5 minutes from a theater and 5 minutes from a hospital means that Megalopolis is the perfect place to put on Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
The one true dream that Adam Driver had throughout the whole film. He's sitting there going like, I gotta make this fucking place successful. Julie Taymor will never forgive me.
Listen, why can't they have, it's in Times Square, just have in the background as a gag, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark and one of the marquees.
If this is supposed to be an alternate universe, make it a better one.
If you've ever seen visuals from Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, it would fit really well into the visuals of this film. Just saying, it's okay. Oh no, is this a darker future or a better future? I don't know.
But when I heard it existed as a thing long before it happened, it was a disaster. I just remember thinking, why would you make a musical out of Spider-Man? That seems really stupid. And then it turned out it was. So.
And how do you do it with U2 music?
I know, that's the worst part.
I'm talking to the wrong guy for that. Yeah.
She may have been strong-armed into it after Across the Universe, where she got Bono to show up in it. And then he was like, all right, now you're going to make a musical that I'm going to do the music for it. She's like, no, please don't. And he's like, well, too late, lass. You're stuck in it now.
Oh, you'd best start believing in Spider-Man musicals. You're in one.
Because you're in one.
Anyway, so this ribbon-cutting ceremony, Julia is holding their baby, Sunny Hope. It was not until the second watch that I realized that his first wife's name is also Sunny. He named his new daughter after his first wife.
It's also the second dumbest name after Wild Platinum.
Yes.
Yeah, his dead wife, who is also the building material for Megalopolis, he named his child after her.
There's a very funny part earlier on where she's talking to her dad about what they're going to name it. And at this point, you don't know that Giancarlo Esposito's character's name is Francis. So she says, we're going to name the baby either Francis or Sunny Hope. And half the people started laughing like, dude, you are naming the magical baby after the director of the film.
Also, that Marcus Aurelius series of quotes where she has to cite them each time for academic reasons. It goes on forever and it's kind of stupid.
Again, I feel like Natalie Emmanuel had a plan. Somebody had a plan for what she was doing in that scene. I just don't understand it.
Me neither.
It's the I think you should leave sketch of it's Schmoopy. What do? What's your thing? What, you just grabbed his backpack from backstage? Like, what are you doing here?
So just as they're about to open Megalopolis on New Year's Eve, they put the baby down on a little, like, baby mouse pad.
Which seems very unsafe. I was concerned for that child.
And then the baby stops time. Because the baby can do it too. The end. A film by Francis Ford Coppola.
The entire theater was like, what? Although we only had one couple leave. That was the only people I saw leave the film.
I don't think I saw anybody leave. This movie clocks in at only 2:15, which I think is very respectable.
It goes by pretty quick for a crazy mess.
No,
that's the thing. This movie is never boring.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I found it went by pretty quick. I didn't look at my watch as much as I thought I would. Let's put it that way.
I checked my watch a lot during this film. I was like, okay, we must be like an hour in, and I checked my watch. It was like 15 minutes. So I was like, oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
No, I am captured heart and soul by this thing. I blink and the movie's over. I love this thing.
I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Like I said, I don't know if I liked it, but I was never bored with it.
No, I am very firmly on the side of I don't like this. I don't like
There's
this
some
movie.
incredible visuals that we didn't get a chance to describe. Like the spinning Opera Plaza hypnotism face. Or
I forgot about that.
The many, like, flowers opening and closing, or his dead wife becoming a number of dancers, becoming stones underwater, which I'm still not really sure how they did. There's a bunch of, like, silent film style images in this that are really, really fun to see.
I can't remember where exactly it is, but there's that whole section where he's tripping balls and there's lots of weird visuals happening. And I'm like, is that when he's tripping balls or is it later? Because it's a really interesting set of visuals.
I think there's the one when he's tripping balls, and that's when he has like 18 arms, and then later on when he's recovering from the gunshot from via Megalon.
Yeah, that's when all the other crazy full screen stuff. It's just weird visuals for the sake of weird visuals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of German expressionism where like the camera lens will suddenly like crawl down to a sort of fuzzy circle around the people that we're watching.
Yeah.
And the stuff we're supposed to, and I really appreciate that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, this is a fun technique. I get it. And I get that the movie is made to be like a play, like a Roman Greek epic, right? And that's why I think the acting choices are done in the way that they're done. The way the people will move and hold themselves in relation to each other is that it is very clearly meant to evoke the style of that kind of thing. Like, I, Caesar, have walked into this scene to talk about the springs that have come before and the winters that shall be hence. And it's like, nobody talks like that. Nobody does that. But in this movie, everybody does. So it's okay.
And that was the original intent, was to have this as, and with One from the Heart, the same thing. It was meant to be live theater. Like, basically, it was meant to be shot like Doctor Who, but in a cinematic way somehow. Or actually a better example would be like I, Claudius, where there's amazing acting and a bunch of camera direction zipping around, but it's all, shot to tape. That was kind of the general idea with this to begin with, and kind of got lost as you went.
It's just, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, at the end of this movie, the TARDIS does drop in the middle of Megalopolis, and out pops the Doctor's head to be like, oh goodness, oh shit, we've fucked it up with Mavity again.
It's exactly. It's one of those stories they talk about as they go to the main adventure, but you never actually see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Our adventure last week in Megalopolis. Less said about it, the better.
But we're not talking about that right now. We've got the Daleks to deal with, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, an easier plot is happening over here.
Yeah, exactly. Get to that one pronto.
Basically, I think my approach to Megalopolis is this movie clearly, like, sings with me very personally. I think there's the good stuff I love so much that I am more than willing to sit through the shit scenes.
I mean, I kind of love some of the bad stuff too. Let's be honest here.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like Shia LaBeouf has 3 incestuous sisters that are always like getting into antics with each other. Don't worry about it.
They felt like when you walk into a nightclub in a video game and the NPCs are just milling around. That's who they reminded me of.
Yeah, I really love what this movie has to say about like creativity and love and the central metaphor of it. And I think I'm just willing to put up with the rest of the shit for it.
Fair enough. It's different. That's what it's not like anything you've seen in quite some time. So that in this, manufactured age of, as much as I love superhero movies, a lot of that stuff, this is way different than that.
I'll give it all the points for different. Yes. I will definitely champion its existence. I will never deny that this kind of movie should exist, because it's this kind of stuff that it does get people talking, and it gets future filmmakers thinking laterally about how we can make movies and what kind of movies we can make and what kind of things and themes and whatnot. So yeah, while I would like more people to see it, I personally didn't like the movie. It took me a while of like, I'm very confused by the movie, but my confusion is just in its structure. Like when it ended, I was surprised that it was over, because I was like, oh, I don't feel like we've been through any traditional like rising tension, rising action. Here's the big climax.
And you would be right.
The movie ends. It just, I didn't know who was who. I didn't understand like where loyalties lies. Maybe it's partially also the dialogue and stuff, because I know with like, as much as I want to enjoy Shakespeare and things of like period dramas and stuff, the dialogue shuts me down. My brain just goes smooth and says, I can't absorb any of this. I don't understand what's happening. And this movie feels akin to that, where I just go like, I absorbed maybe a third of what was happening throughout the film, and not for want of trying. I just couldn't. It was impenetrable to me. Shia LaBeouf is great. I think that he deserves, honestly, I think this is his Oscar nomination right here.
I just kind of let it wash over me. I'm like, all right, Francis, whatever you got, I'm into. Let's see what's happening. And then it happened, essentially.
Do we have anything else to bring up? Anything that we missed that we want to mention?
Yes, I want to hear you say your favorite line for the whole movie.
Oh, yes. Go back to the club.
It's just out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah, the club with his little head shake. That one I laughed at, because I was like, oh, this is...
Everybody in the theater laughed at that.
This is the most left field fucking thing. Where did that come from? It's
exactly.
Like all of a sudden a different movie broke through and went, oh shit, I'm in the wrong movie, and then stepped back out.
Exactly. He escaped containment for 2 seconds.
There's also something to be said about how Adam Driver keeps being in these allegedly impossible projects that people have been working on for decades, like this, Silence, House of Gucci, Ferrari, and he is not getting bruised by any of them. People are just like, we love you, Adam Driver, work with another auteur now.
I mean, he wasn't 65. That didn't bruise him, so he's unstoppable.
Why aren't there more dinosaur movies?
He's also just not a traditionally like leading man type of actor. You look at him and he's a weird looking guy.
In Last Jedi, a lot of my friends were very, I'm having some feelings about Kylo Ren.
I was thinking about that, where I was like, I can't believe that you had like a trilogy where you had, you could have set anyone up to be any archetype, right? We come out of it and it's pretty clear that like Rey is the Luke and things like that. But I'm like, you had a movie where you had Oscar Isaac and they're like, nah, you're not the sexy one anymore.
No, the Darth Vader guy, that's the sexy one.
Yeah.
Let's show him shirtless, but with his pants all the way up
here. So you're an evil farmer? Okay.
Sex is introduced to Star Wars and people handled it very normally.
I guess the very important question from here, of course, as is wont to happen, is Megalopolis camp? Warren, is as the guest, as returning editor, Warren, Is Megalopolis camp?
Absolutely. I don't think it's intentional, but I think it's as camp as hell. It's going to be celebrated as a camp film. I think it'll be kind of like this is not a fair comparison because it's not anything like Showgirls, but it'll be like that phenomenon of people like, I mean, originally were like, what the hell is this? And then they'll be like, I'm embracing all the flaws. This is insane stupidity. I love it.
Sarah.
I've got to agree. I think much like Showgirls, I think what people are going to see right now as flaws or bad filmmaking are going to be seen as deliberate choices in the future, much like Showgirls was. Like, Showgirls didn't turn out that way on accident, and neither did Megalopolis. I think this movie is patchily camp.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And Sam, how about you?
Yeah, I will agree that I think that this film is camp. It's not deliberate camp, obviously. This is purely accidental. No, I think Aubrey Plaza and Shia LaBeouf are meant to be, camp characters and caricatures. And most of the other characters at some point or another will dip themselves into camp as well. Like Lawrence Fishburne interrupting his own narrative monologue to be like, I like that girl. All right. That's camp. That's an unusual choice. And it's just such a weird movie. I'm not going to say that this movie is a recommend from me so much as it is like, if you have the wherewithal to try something that is very unusual and to walk out of it going like, a lot of choices were made. This is a very good example of like, okay, let's see what cinema can do. Whether it's successful or not is not the point. What can cinema do? And this is a great example of it.
Yeah, it's that Voltaire quote. I may not agree with you, but I defend to the death your right to say it.
What can cinema do? Oh, that. All right. Well, I did it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not in a Neil Breen way either, where at least with Neil Breen, I'm sitting there going like, I'm fascinated by what's happening on screen. I have no idea what's happening and I love it for that. This is more of I understand the choices that are going on behind the camera. I just don't know why the choices are being presented to me in this way.
I'm excited to come back to this in the future. I have the feeling that you guys are not going to be seeking this out in the future. And that's fine too.
I do kind of want to watch it when it hits digital eventually. Just to see it again, because I find with movies like this, you got to let it cook the first time. The second time, you know what's coming, and that either works or it doesn't. So.
Yeah, I would stress, I doubt it's going to still be in theaters by the time this episode comes out, but if you guys have any, like, second-run theaters where Megalopolis is still playing, try to see it on the big screen. It's got great visuals, it's got great sound.
It does, it's true.
Mm-hmm. It looks pretty. It's very orange and yellow.
Yeah.
If you didn't know any better, you'd swear that this movie was set in Mexico.
It's like the part of Traffic where, we're in Mexico, dial up the color contrast.
Oh my god. I was thinking about the colors in Traffic and what that unleashed on cinema for 20 years. Like, I'm sure he didn't know what he was going to do.
Yeah, it definitely worked in Traffic. I remember watching Saving Private Ryan in the theater where they would jack up the shutter speed to sort of match what documentary stuff looked like. And I remember watching it going, this scene is incredible. And in about a year, every crappy film's going to rip this off. And lo and behold, they did. So.
Yeah. Isn't that like one of Zack Snyder's favorite things is to change the shutter speed?
And he's one of the better people at it. I mean, I remember there's a Cindy Crawford action film, the name of which escapes me, but they used it all the time. And I'm like, oh, here we are. This is exactly what I figured was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That and when the Bourne Identity came out and everybody was like, oh, we can make action movies look like that. And I went, no, please don't.
We can make them look like shit.
But
I recently rewatched The Bourne Identity. It's very good. It doesn't deserve what it did to the movies.
What I did like about it at the time was everybody didn't look like that. So it's like, all right, we're going to spend all our money not on effects, but on going to places. And I'm like, oh, this is very refreshing, actually.
Well, it's not so much like the thing itself is bad. It's just when used by the right people, it's great. And then you get a bunch of other filmmakers who say, I too can use this as well. And then they don't know how to use it. And it comes out
all
bad.
the Tarantino ripoffs of the 90s. Like, like him or hate him, he's a singular thing. And then everybody else is like, I can do that. Well, it turns out you can't. So don't. But they do anyway.
Yeah. It's like the Blade Runner thing of now my sci-fi story takes place in Neo San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So thank you for joining us today on our exploration of Megalopolis. Please subscribe on your podcaster of choice, leave a star rating and review where you can, because it always helps us to find new people who may not know what their camp favorite is.
Yes, and next week we will be diving into Sleuth, the original Sleuth with Sir Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine.
Excellent. Warren, have you seen either Sleuth?
No, I don't think I have. In fact, I didn't know there was a newer one.
Newer in that it came out when Sam and I were in university.
We're in university.
Okay, all right.
So Sleuth was originally a play, if I'm not incorrect, and they did this version with Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine in the 70s, the 80s.
Okay.
And then they did
70s.
I think Laurence Olivier was dead by the 80s. I could be wrong about that, but
that would make sense, honestly. But they did how they did a remake of Alfie and Jude Law played Alfie?
Mm-hmm.
They were like, this Jude Law as Michael Caine thing might be interesting. So they made a remake of Sleuth directed by Kenneth Branagh where
oh, right. Okay.
Michael Caine played the Laurence Olivier role and Jude Law played the Michael Caine role.
That's an interesting idea. I never saw that, Alfie, because I found Jude Law in the trailer to be incredibly smug, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this guy for 2 hours.
I look like Jude Law. Well, nice for you.
I mean, that's a reason to be smug, but I don't need to watch it. So.
No, Sam, have you watched Sleuth since we originally saw it?
I haven't watched the original Sleuth in almost 20 years, but I remember loving it immensely because this is a movie that is just a 2-person film.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you just have Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine going off against each other. It's a bit of a cat and mouse, but it's more of like it's a challenge of wits and it's a challenge of wills, and it's just talking. It's a very talky film, but it's an engaging talky film. When they remade it, Sarah and I absolutely fell in love with it because we went, look at all this homosexual undertones. And then halfway through the movie, we went, nope, not undertones at all.
Overtones.
Yep.
I haven't seen the original, but when you said Laurence Olivier and Michael Caine, I'm like, oh, the most method guy ever and the least method guy ever, and both of them really good actors. That sounds interesting in and of itself.
Yeah, because it's based on a
great.
play, it's just like, 2 guys in a room arguing with each other for 90 minutes. It's great.
Sounds like the internet, actually, but okay.
But be careful because this movie has a curse.
So something much less sprawling.
Because the first time we saw this, Sam was then hit by a car.
Oh, damn. Okay, well, I'll watch that. Watch the safety of my own home.
I technically wasn't hit very hard. It slid some ice and just basically scooped me up from right next to you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a miracle that you weren't also hit by a car at the same time.
Yeah. Lesson is, no matter how bad the sidewalks are, don't walk on the road.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, until next week, when we may or may not be hit by another car, you, our audience, our campers, can continue the discussion over on our Twitter, our Instagram, and our Blue Sky at all the same handles. Where can they find you, Warren?
Blue Sky at Freiburg, and if you like Doctor Who, listen to Radio Free Skaro.
Which I do weekly.
Thank you.
And you can find me at Slam Campbell. Campbell spelt the soup way.
I am at Sour Citrus Lady. I also listen to Radio Free Skaro. Please give it a listen. It's a much better show. You can follow our pod on at Is It Camp Pod. Our episodes are edited by Warren Fry.
Hey.
Yay! Until next week, wait an hour before swimming. Watch out for snakes and stay camp. Bye!
Like, not too camp.
No, not the way you do it.